Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to another episode of the Chocolate Sheikh. Inshallah, today I have a story to tell. So I'm asking you before I get started to be patient with me. This is concerning another person who contacted me, who knows that I'm doing this channel, and who knows I'm trying to help younger brothers through their life situations. This particular gentleman is not a younger brother, but he is younger than me by about 15 years. I got a call of distress from the brother saying that he was contemplating self-deletion. And he told me all the reasons why. They basically boiled down to the relationship that he's having with his spouse. He and his spouse are just not getting along. And he found out recently that his spouse was entertaining another man. This relationship with this man has been going on for some time, and he's not quite sure how intimate the relationship was, but the fact that she was having the relationship has really spiraled him into another world. Now, because of that and other things that were going on in their marriages, and I would like to say, of course, when people complain about what's going on with others in their lives, we always have to look at ourselves to find out what is it that we've done also in the relationship to make people make the choices that they make. It's not a one-side story. Stories have three sides, as the elders teach us. You have his side, her side, and then we have the truth. So he gave his side, but of course, she has a side, and I have no contact with her, and nor do I need any contact with her. He reached out to me, and he told me what he needed to tell me by way of how he felt. And I had to remind the brother that these relationships that we get into with these women, that's a two-way street. It's not just about us, it's about us and them. So because we know where we are in the relationship, and we understand, let me stop right there. One of the problems that I recognize with brothers who speak to me about having marital problems is that, in fact, they don't know where they are in the relationship a lot of times. Not all the time, but most of the time, I found out that brothers really don't know where they are in their own lives, much less where they are in the relationship. That gets deep, right? So I'm not a psychologist. I'm a person that basically works with the spirit of man. That's where my forte is dealing with the morality of the individual, the ethics of a man, and how to understand to use our morality to better our lives. But as we all know, psychology is mixed up and is intertwined with spirituality. This is why I love Carl Jung, the psychiatrist that came out of Europe. I love him, more than the others, because he knew this, he sensed this, he had an idea about this, and he was able to merge together the mind and the soul. So being a Jungian myself, I could appreciate the fact that the mind, or the psychology of the human being, and the soul of the human being are right there together. So you can't work with one and not the other to solve these problems. That's the point I'm making. However, I believe that everything starts with the soul, right? If the soul is pure, the man is pure. If the soul is defiled, the man is defiled. And that goes up and down through a bunch of levels, right? So I always approach things from the aspect of the soul. And one of the things that I realize that we have problems with, and I'm talking about the human beings when I say we, is that we don't have either the understanding about who we are, why we are, how we are. And we also lack the discipline to enact whatever it is that we need to enact by way of principles, tactics, and strategies to better our lives and make things smoother for ourselves, more peaceful, right? That's the aim. I think that's the aim of most of us. The aim of most of us in our life journeys, as we take the journeys, we're trying to take the journeys with a modicum of peace. That's what we want. We want peace. So whatever we're trying to achieve, if we're adult, you know that you're going to struggle. There's no doubt about that. Life is filled with struggles. We have our personal jihads, as we call them in Islam. Jihad, again, means struggle. I spoke about that in previous videos. The spiritual struggle that man has to have, man against nature, man against God, man against himself, right? And now people even adding man against machine. So these are the jihads that we have to engage in to better ourselves. That's the type of creature that the human being is. We have to be engaged with something so that we get better. Outside of that, we remain stagnant. We go nowhere. Without obstacles, without trials, without tribulations, the human being will be just this stagnant animal, and we will kind of walk the earth like dogs and cats and some of the quote unquote lower animals. So to get us to get going, we have to have struggle. We have to have our jihads. That's what makes the human race better. What we lack most often are the two things I mentioned. People don't realize where they are in their own lives. They really don't know who they are. And the second thing is that we lack the discipline to make a difference. And this is what I found with my dear brother who was having problems with his spouse. It's not that she was doing so wrong because she has been entertaining another man in a relationship, wherever that went. Because, of course, as a man, anytime a woman entertains another man, she's having a relationship outside of ours with another man. We look at that as cheating. That's the nature of the woman. We know that if a woman is emotionally invested in another man, she's talking to him on the phone, she's relying on him, she's crying on his shoulder about what's going on in your home as the man, right? Of course, that's a relationship that's intolerable for a man. And it's something that, by the way, if you are a moral woman and you're an ethical woman, regardless of your problems with your husband, you should not engage with another man about what's going on in your household, unless that man be your father, your brother, your uncles, or someone related to you that you don't have to worry about trying to bed you down. Because any man outside of a family member who has no intentions or no love for you to bed you down, then that means that you're opening yourself up now for adultery. You're opening up yourself now to be taken advantage of by the outside man. And we men, by nature, we like to have that S on our chest, to be Superman. We love to put on those capes. It's just the way God made us. So, of course, we're going to come to the distress of a damsel, right? So it's what we do. And no matter how disciplined you could try to be, when you come to a distressed woman, I would say that you're taking a 50% and higher gamble that you'll end up bedding that woman. So the best thing to do is to stay out of those situations if we're men on the outside and you're not a relative to that woman. And the best thing for that woman to do is stay away from men who are not relatives when she has complaints about her husband. Back to not knowing who we are. One of the reasons why I started this channel is because of self-deletion of some of the young black men around me. And it has been painful for me. And I get stupefied by it because I've always worked with the idea, and it's not just the idea, it's a reality, that black men are very strong. We have to be. We've had to be. And because of our mental toughness and our spiritual deepness, we've been able to stave off self-deletion for centuries in this country. But now, as we've evolved in the country and things have lightened on us, of course, now we're becoming more and more like the dominant culture and how they deal with stress. So now you're starting to see an uptick of self-deletion from black men. I believe I saw something that said black people en masse, altogether, black men, women, and children. But of course, black men were leading the pack. And that makes sense because of the pressure that we have to deal with in a society where we are the minority man. And not only are we a minority man, we're the premier minority man that this racist society seems to concentrate on, right? So we get the brunt of the blow. We have to know who we are at every stage in our lives. And that takes discipline to find out. You just don't slip on a banana peel and find out who you are. You have to be tried. You have to go through your trials. You have to go through your tribulations. But more than that, we have to stay conscious, brothers and sisters. We must stay conscious about the practice of asking ourselves at every stage in our lives who we are. That's very important. Because who we are at 15 years old is not who we are at 20 years old. And who we are at 20 years old is not who we are when we graduate college or come out the military at 22, 24, 25 years old. Who we are at 25 years old is not who we are when we're 30, 32 years old. All right? Life has changed. A woman or a man has come into your lives. We've pair bonded or we've gotten married. We started to have children. Who we are at 32 years old is not who we are at 38 years old. That's when I myself had a profound change in my life. Some people call it midlife crisis or whatever it is they want to call it. But I remember at 38 years old, I too had to go to one of my spiritual masters. I had to go to another chocolate shake and sit down with him about where I was in my life, teary-eyed. And I had to look at my big brother, who himself is about 10 years older than me, hold me by the hand, and he had to navigate me through those waters and through those times because I had changed. Who I was at 38 years old, I was not that person at 45 years old. I had changed again and become more flat-footed about who I was. Who I was at 45 years old, who was not who I was at 50, 51, 52 years old. So we are going through these changes. This is a part of life. There's nothing wrong with it. This is how it's supposed to be. But at every change, at every time in our lives where we cross that barrier of change, we have to recognize, oh, okay, something just happened. I shifted. There's something different going on here. And we have to look at it and appreciate it, not run from it and try to run back to the days of yore when we were young, or practice any other type of escapism, right? Drugs, women, cars, and all these other things that people, dilute themselves with when they go through these changes, especially when we come to that quote unquote midlife crisis stage, which at one time I didn't believe was real, right? I didn't believe in midlife crisis. I thought that was some white folks nonsense. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that no, in fact, it's not. No, this is real. Midlife crisis is real. It's a real thing. Whatever term you want to call it, it is real, right? It's something that the human being deals with, and it's not just in our culture. Somebody had convinced me one time, well, that's a phenomenon that only happens in the West. And then I started to read and study up on it when I myself thought I was going through it. And then I'm finding out that no, this is natural. Human beings change. There are points in our life where we make changes, and it happens all of our lives. We just have to be comfortable making the adjustments in the changes as we move along. Okay, so no, midlife crisis is not a joke. It's not something that's a fantasy or made up. It's not something that just comes from the white man's countries like the Western countries. No, it's real. It's real for the human family. And we must identify with the fact that we are changing and then get comfortable in our skin where we are in our lives. Because we change, the persons that we pair bond with, our spouses, they also change. They're not the same. They've lived their lives. They too have went through an evolution in their own minds, in their own hearts, and in their own souls. And because they too have went through those evolutions, sometimes we'll find that we're not on the same page at the same time, and that's okay. This is the message I was trying to give the brother. That's okay. All we have to do at this juncture as spouses is have the communication to know, baby, this is where I believe I am. Where do you believe you are in the relationship? And should we now move forward as a couple and learn how to love each other all over again where we are? Not make her who she was when you met her when she was 20, or she shouldn't try to make you who you were when she met you when you were 20, 21, 22. That we have to get to the point where we understand, okay, now that was then, and this is now. So going back to the great spiritual masters and what they said about staying in the moment, this is what they mean. Not living your life in the past and thinking about the past, and that's what it was, right? So what that was, I want that now. So you were 20 then, now you're 50, 55, 60, and you still want what you had from this woman when she was 20. She still want to have from you what she had from you when you were 22, 23, 24. That's very unrealistic. It's very childish. It's very lazy. It's very lazy. It's very undisciplined. So we have to get to the point where we strengthen ourselves, educate ourselves about spiritual tactics that we can use, have strategies that we can understand, that we can forecast, so that we're able to weather these marital storms. I'm at 17 minutes. I've been trying to keep my videos at 15 minutes. So I'm going to stop now, and I'll do a part 2 because I'm not finished with this situation. So we'll stop here with this video, and God willing, I'll do a part 2 to this scenario so we can finish it. If you like what you heard, please do me a favor and like these episodes, because that's how we get the algorithm to pick up on it, and share it if you like to share it, if you think anybody needs to hear it and they can benefit from it. And if you have not already, please subscribe to my channel. I love you guys. Y'all take care out there. Signing off. Peace.